Welcome to your Houston Rewind for April 10th through the 14th. I'm KHOU 11 digital anchor Brandy Smith. We know catching up on the news can be a little overwhelming, especially in a city like Houston where it just doesn't stop. So every weekend, we take this opportunity to fill you in on some of the stories you may have missed. Let's rewind. On Monday, KHOU 11 obtained exclusive surveillance video of Lydell Grant's arrest. He's the man accused in a deadly road rage shooting last Friday who'd been exonerated in a past murder case. Sherman Chow showed us what happened.
Home security cameras were rolling when Houston police pulled up to this house Thursday. Investigators say outside was the white Lexus involved in a nearby road rage killing just hours earlier. SWAT officers got into position.
This is the Houston Police Department. We have an arrest warrant for Lydell Grant.
Moments later, 46-year-old Lydell Grant surrendered without incident. He was taken in for questioning and charged with murder.
The defendant shot the complaining witness who struck the rear of the defendant's vehicle. This was all captured on digital video from a location nearby.
Police say that video shows a man and woman get into a white Lexus, run a stop sign, causing an accident with a Toyota. The Lexus driver exited and shot the Toyota driver 5 times, killing him.
6 prior felonies and 2 misdemeanors from 1994 to 2009. Bond will be set at $1 million.
But Lydell Grant had also been wrongly convicted of a previous murder. The woman who owns the property, where Grant was arrested last week, told us this.
He was incarcerated before, wrongly incarcerated, and they let him out, and I think he did 9 years.
It was 7 years. For a 2010 murder he did not commit. The Innocence Project, DNA, and a confession cleared Grant in that case. As for what happens in this 2023 road rage shooting, that remains to be seen.
Governor Greg Abbott faced backlash this week after promising to pardon a man convicted of killing a Black Lives Matter protester. Gerald Harris talked to legal experts who say this could have a chilling effect on the rule of law.
The governor's proposed pardon of Daniel Perry is unprecedented in Texas law.
After facing pressure by Fox News personality Tucker Carlson and some trolling online, Governor Greg Abbott decided to announce he's working swiftly to pardon Daniel Perry, a man in Austin jury found guilty of shooting and killing a protester in 2020.
And it tells Texans that a jury verdict means nothing if the governor disagrees.
Perry claimed he shot Garrett Foster in self-defense after he encountered Black Lives Matter protesters while working as a rideshare driver in downtown Austin.
The Travis County jury showed that it rejected his claims of self-defense. He is entitled to an appeal. He is entitled to avail himself of all possible relief.
Abbott said in the Saturday afternoon statement, quote, "I look forward to approving the board's pardon recommendation as soon as it hits my desk." Abbott can only issue a pardon based on the recommendation of the Board of Pardons and Paroles, who Abbott appoints.
The board is now put in this position where if they grant it or allow it, they're essentially a rubber stamp. And they're not really in a position to deny it given the statements that Governor Abbott has made about this case.
KHOU 11 legal analyst Carmen Rowe says the pardon could set a harmful precedent.
The concern going forward is this creates a slippery slope for cases that are hot button issues dealing with self-defense, stand your ground law, and that anyone could come in and put their thumb on the scale and alter the outcome of what a jury decides inside of a courtroom.
Later in the week, investigators uncovered new evidence in the Daniel Perry case, including racist social media posts, derogatory comments about Black Lives Matter protesters, and text messages he sent to friends. Prosecutors also pointed out online searches Perry made weeks before the incident about degrees of murder charges. The jury saw some of this evidence, but not all of it. Meantime, the defense is arguing for a new trial. KHOU 11 legal expert Carmen Rowe told us, quote, "The judge could also grant the defense's motion for a new trial based on jury misconduct even before sentencing occurs. And if that happens, Perry would be granted a new trial." Congratulations to the Texas Southern University cheerleaders who are national champions. They're the first HBCU squad to claim a national cheer title. Zach Tawatari caught up with the champs after their win.
Well, in their first year in the National Cheerleading Association National Championship, TSU didn't just win it all, they made history. under the lights of competition.
Leaving a legacy on top of leaving with the national title.
The Texas Southern University cheer team shines the brightest.
We told that story as we performed that we are here to do what we came to do.
And now they've got the hardware.
Blood, sweat, and tears went into that trophy.
And the title of national champions to prove it.
NCAA title is big for any cheerleader. Like that's what you dream of.
Last Friday night, that dream became a reality when TSU won the National Cheerleading Association National Championship.
The first thing that popped into my mind was they did it. They did it.
But the team didn't just win. They made history, becoming the first sport in TSU history to be national champs and the first historically black college or university to win a national championship in cheer, a feat Captain Haley Walker says is bigger than the title itself.
Like I told my teammates, I'm like, we didn't just do this for us. Like, this is for all of the HBCUs, every HBCU around the world, because at the end of the day, we don't get put in a spot like this too often.
But what can't be overshadowed is the special group that Coach Chantrice Como saw before the year even started.
The message was basically to get it done. I knew that this was the year and this was the team that deserved to go and was going to get the job done.
She was right. The team, including All-American mascot Jacob Bay, bought in.
We all did it together. We all came in together and we won together, so it was amazing.
And in a sport that's as competitive as they come, team member Croy Carter says the 26-person team embraced the challenge.
We're showing guys, everybody, that every day this is something we care about, this is something that we're passionate about, and this is a real sport.
And now they're using their light to shine on others.
We bring the energy, we bring the culture. It's like for everybody moving forward, I feel like it's nothing that we can't do. Any HBCU.
And Coach Como says the hope is that this national championship will only enhance their program. On the TSU campus, Zach Tawatari, KHOU 11 News.
The deadline to apply to be on the board of managers that will replace Houston ISD's elected board of trustees has been extended. You have until April 20th to turn in an application. On Tuesday, we broke down the 374 applicants so far, only 10% of which are Hispanic. 62% of the district students are Hispanic. Anayeli Ruiz took a closer look at that discrepancy.
On June 1st, the TA will appoint a board of managers for Houston ISD. They will replace the elected school board. But despite the opposition by many, 374 people have applied for a spot on the board of managers. Of those, 40% are African American, 33% are white, 10% are Hispanic, 5% are Asian, and 12% are other. But why didn't more Latinos apply for a seat at the table, knowing that 62% of the students make up HISD are Hispanic? The problem is local leaders feel Latinos are so diverse and also so divided.
Latinos are not as unified in the position of whether or not TEA should have taken over.
Add to that the lack of communication.
We haven't gotten the word out to the community. We have not done a good job.
Also, they say it's not an issue being raised within the Latino congregations.
Black churches, they're heavily involved in public education, whereas the majority of Latinos are Catholic. And the Catholic Church does not get involved in political issues. They stay in their lane. So we don't have that strong, religious, powerful voice to join us.
You also have to be a U.S. citizen to apply. This leaves out residents and even Dreamers or DACA recipients, leaders like Cesar Espinosa.
And I wanted to apply, and I went and looked at the onboarding and application process, but unfortunately, because I am a DACA recipient, I wasn't able to apply.
In the end, they hope the new board is reflective of the current demographic and not of the governor's opinion.
Mike Morath is just, listening to his boss that appointed him, which is Governor Abbott.
If you want more information about the TEA takeover of HISD, or you want to apply to be on the board of managers, we have that information at khou.com/education. Someone's pretending to be a Precinct 2 deputy constable to scam people in Harris County's medical community. Lauren Tellerico found out some victims were even convinced to undress during the crime.
This is Lieutenant Horn. with the Harris County Constable's Office.
The scam starts with a call like this.
I'm calling in regards to a very important legal matter.
A not-so-new jury scam.
These people are extremely convincing when they call and say that you have a warrant for your arrest for failing to show up for jury service.
But with a high-tech twist.
They're saying that they are a lieutenant from our office. The phone number that comes up on the screen is our warrant division.
Precinct 2 Constable Alan Rosen says the scammer seems to be targeting women in the medical field. The victims are kept on the phone and told to go buy these gift cards loaded with thousands of dollars. Some victims have even undressed for the caller, who says they're checking to make sure the victim isn't armed. But they never meet. The card number is transferred over the phone. All this done over the fear they'll be arrested if they don't pay up.
People who are highly intelligent and in our medical community are falling prey to this.
Rosen says 60 victims have been scammed out of $5,000. That's about $300,000 swindled that they know of.
This is Lieutenant Horn with the Harris County Constable's Office.
So if you recognize this voice, please call Crime Stoppers.
Constable Rosen says Galveston County has also reported this scam. To be clear, a law enforcement agency will never call and ask for payment through gift cards. If there is a true warrant, you'll either get a knock on your door or a letter in the mail. 4 volunteers will soon spend an entire year inside a small habitat at Johnson Space Center in Houston, all a part of a program to better prepare mankind for future missions to Mars. Jason Miles got a tour on Tuesday.
Mars may be 145 million miles from Earth, but missions to the red planet could come as soon as the 2030s.
And so this is a really good insight to seeing if that's even possible.
That is CHPIA, or Crew Health and Performance Exploration Analog.
It's an isolation and confinement mission for a year with a crew of 4.
4 astronaut-like paid volunteers will spend 12 full months in this 1,700 square feet habitat, which houses things like tiny bedrooms, a living space, an area to grow their own food, and a medical bay.
We actually are collecting a lot of biological samples throughout this mission to evaluate health.
This is video of the 3D printed structure taking shape inside a large warehouse. The crew will be monitored 24/7, performing simulated spacewalks and other activities, only without a lack of gravity. This area is called the sandbox and is meant to mimic the Mars surface. NASA even went as far as to dye all of this sand.
It's really wonderful how we can go up to a year isolation and confinement with a lot of resource restrictions, food, water, things we're expecting from Mars to be restricted.
Psychological and physiological impacts are among the things that will be studied before data then helps design future Mars missions. The volunteers taking part in this mission will be revealed in the coming weeks. At Johnson Space Center, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
At khou.com/space, we have more coverage of NASA's planned mission to Mars, as well as in-depth articles about the Artemis missions. Next month will mark 1 year since the Robb Elementary shooting in Uvalde. As that milestone approaches, several survivors say they don't want to be home on May 24th. Ron Trevino spoke with one dad trying to create happier memories for those kids.
Disneyland. Millions of Americans go there for vacations every year, but sometimes a vacation is more than just a vacation.
Maybe it's the best kind of therapy you can offer.
To me, I think so.
That's Miguel Cerillo. His daughter, Maya Cerillo, is one of the survivors of the school shooting at Robb Elementary in Uvalde. She survived by covering herself in another student's blood and playing dead, and was on the phone with 911 trying to get help. She and another survivor of the shooting came up with the idea of going to Disneyland. In all, it would be 5 kids and their parents going. They set up a GoFundMe account.
Last night, I know it was at 8,000 or 9,000 when I saw it, and this morning I woke up when I got home earlier. My wife told me, "Can you believe it's already at 12,000?" I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Man, that's amazing." People are really trying to see our story and understand where we're coming from.
Cerillo says the recovery has been difficult, and that the kids just want to get away from Uvalde, away from the pain. And they don't want to just see Disneyland. They want to drive there in RVs and catch the sights along the way.
What are the kids already saying about this? What are they looking forward to? Anything in particular?
They're just, they keep saying they can't wait to leave Texas and see the view. One of the little boys was like, I've never been to New Mexico, but I'm ready to see New Mexico. They say they have aliens and they say they have this. And I'm like, okay, well, wherever there's aliens, I'm going to go see them with you.
From aliens in Area 51 to Mickey in the happiest place on earth, the kids say they need to get away, especially on the 1-year mark of the school shooting, May 24th.
Getting their heads out of Uvalde, it's a healing process. It's not going to take one day to the next. It's going to take years. But I believe a little gesture of this gratitude would help them achieve a little better of therapy.
The kind of therapy where a kid can just be a kid.
The GoFundMe is growing, but the group needs about $50,000 to make that trip happen. We have a link to the fundraiser at khou.com/Uvalde. This photo did exactly what the man who posted it on Facebook hoped. He was fed up after calling Houston Public Works about the 3-foot hole in the middle of the street. And while the city didn't make the hole, Anieli Ruiz shared it didn't waste any time fixing it.
It was a makeshift repair to what residents say was a bigger problem.
I actually stood in the hole. It was up to my waist, and I'm over 6 foot.
Ed Petit is a 3rd Ward vice president of the super neighborhood. While riding through the neighborhood, he said he stumbled on a huge hole on Saturday.
So it was a pretty deep hole, and it was kind of in 2 sections. There was a hole right in the middle of the street, and then closer to the curb, it was even wider and deeper.
Turns out several residents from the area even fell into the hole while driving by.
When I come through, my front end hit first, and then my back got stuck. I hit down in there, and then I had my neighbor to push me out.
Ed called 311 and took it a step further, hoping to get some action. He posted this picture on Facebook.
Went viral.
Public Works told us they sent out a crew to look at the problem within 24 hours and said the work needed to be repaired by the contractor who made the hole. And they said the contractor did not have permits. They also said the contractor was the one that filled the hole with dirt. But Ed Petit says the city told him a different story.
Obviously, Public Works doesn't know what's happening because they're telling us different stories. They're even telling some folks that they put in a metal plate. Obviously, we can see with our eyes there's no metal plate.
But despite the back and forth, while we were doing our story, city crews started rolling in. They repaired the hole and put the metal plate over it. Somewhat of a resolution for these residents.
If you're asking me if I'm happy with this process, no. Because it shouldn't take a week of this gaping hole sitting there, a week for them to follow up from the complaint, and then at least 2 cars falling in the hole and getting damaged, and half a dozen news crews to come out to get a simple hole fixed.
Public Works said they cited the contractors they identified as We Excavate Texas. We tried to contact that business with no luck. Neighbors told Anieli they just want the developers held accountable. A bill to ban race-based hair discrimination in Texas schools, workplaces, and housing is one step closer to the governor's desk. Wednesday, the Texas House overwhelmingly passed the Crown Act. Adam Bennett introduced us to the Houston area young man who helped inspire that legislation.
He should not have to go through this.
In January 2020, a local story about Mont Belvieu teen DeAndre Arnold
We're here about DeAndre, but it's bigger than DeAndre.
drew national attention.
I just am urging you to do the right thing.
Arnold was suspended for the length of his locks and told he couldn't walk at graduation unless he cut them. District leaders said it violated their grooming code, but Arnold said his locks were part of his Trinidadian culture and heritage. He transferred schools and filed a lawsuit that's still ongoing. Now, 3 years later, the rules on hair could be changing statewide.
Have all members voted?
Today, the Texas House voted 141-3 to approve House Bill 567. It bans discrimination in employment, housing, or education based on hair texture or protective hairstyle, commonly or historically associated with race.
For me personally, it feels good for people like me.
DeAndre Arnold spoke with me after the vote from LSU, where he's now a junior studying to become a veterinarian.
It shows that we're making some sort of progress towards a better society and just better living for Black people as a whole.
This happened to students like DeAndre Arnold.
Today, the bill's author brought up Arnold's story alongside others to illustrate why she believes change is needed.
It will help to reduce disparities in school discipline and lets our children feel like they can show up to school looking the way God made them.
Keep tabs on this bill and others at khou.com/politics. Next month, Fort Bend ISD wants voters to approve the district's biggest bond package ever, totaling more than $1.2 billion. And a big chunk of that money will go toward replacing Clements High School. Jason Miles exposed some of the school's foundation issues.
William Clements High School is named for a Texas governor who served 2 inconsecutive terms. But persistent foundation problems are the current concern. 2 teachers could even pass a book through this gap.
In some areas, the part of the building is sinking. In other areas, it's actually going up.
School staff showed us cracks in bathrooms and even this hump rising from the floor.
The gap starts to go through the wall.
Others are creeping up classroom walls.
Here it was coming up like a little earthquake, like a little spike.
Maintenance men are constantly repairing floors that become tripping hazards. And there are visible issues outside as well.
It's getting to the point where it does make a lot more sense to rebuild versus renovate.
A totally brand new $222 million Clements High that could possibly look like this would go up next to the current school and is part of a $1.2+ billion bond package soon to be in front of voters. Signs seeking to educate the public are all over the area, along with online resources.
But we have to be careful with what we say because we can't advocate for the bond. We can only educate people on what the bond is for and why it's needed.
Voters rejected a tax hike request last November, so it's by no means a shoo-in.
I recently qualified for the national debate tournament for the 4th time in a row.
Even some students old enough to vote plan on studying the issue.
You want to go into the hard data. You want to look at the actual numbers, get some number crunching done yourself, and then from there finally determine what your stances are.
If all 3 props pass, the average Fort Bend homeowner would pay an extra $2.50 per month.
Early voting is April 24th through May 2nd. Election Day is May 6th. Various town hall meetings are also being held, but we have a lot more information on KHOU.com. Major League Baseball games are shorter due to the introduction of the pitch clock this season. And that means less time for people to eat and drink in the stadium, which is why the Astros say they're extending beer and alcohol sales. Anieli Ruiz reported the Astros are the 6th MLB team to change last call.
It's going to be a new ball game at Minute Maid starting Friday. Now fans won't have to rush to get their beer or food before the 8th inning. The Astros announced today they'll be extending their concession sales at some locations through the entire game, a change some fans agree with.
That's great. It's always fun whenever, it's an intense game and, we're winning. And you want to keep the party going.
Well, the Astros said about 40% of their locations will now be open the entire game. But the selling by seat vendors will continue to stop at the end of the 7th inning. An alcohol cutoff will be 4 hours after first pitch or at building management's discretion.
And now people are, they only get time for 1-2 beers and then they're done. Now that they can extend this time, they're, get more bang for your buck.
The new pitch clock rules have led to quicker games.
It really is beneficial to be able to get home earlier, get to bed earlier, and be able to wake up to get to work.
But it's costing major league teams millions of dollars in lost revenue from concession sales. Take a look. We did some digging here for Minute Maid. According to the Texas Comptroller's Office, here are the top 5 alcohol sellers in Harris County for 2022. Minute Maid, as you can see, came in at number 1 with more than $28 million in alcohol sales for last year. And if you see their total sales for the last 7 years, their sales almost tripled in 2022 since the first World Series in 2017. And if you want to see what people are drinking at the game, well, beer comes in at number 1, but liquor comes in a close second. Now fans just hope people take this extra time and enjoy it responsibly.
I've always liked that they quit selling them at the 7th inning because it gave a chance for the fans to sober up a little bit before hitting the road.
KHOU 11 reached out to Houston Police for a comment. They asked people to plan ahead if they're drinking at a game, just be responsible and catch a ride home. Thursday, lawyers for Pappas Restaurants asked a judge to pause the city of Houston's plans to replace Pappas at Hobby Airport. Pappas is suing the city after it awarded a 10-year, $470 million concessions contract to Arias, a Spanish food services company. Adam Bennett was in court for the first hearing on the case.
It's a fight that's landed on airport marquee signs, online petitions, and in the chambers of City Hall in February and March.
This is a competitive bid process. It is not a popularity contest.
Today, the question of who should win a high-dollar, long-term concession contract at Hobby Airport is taking off in the courtroom. Judge Bo Miller heard arguments on whether to issue a temporary restraining order. Those can last up to 14 days. City Attorney Arturo G. Michel doesn't believe it's needed because another hearing's already planned before Pappas's move-out date.
Nothing will happen until May 11th, when the transition was going to occur. And the hearing before Judge Kraft will be on the 25th of this month. So we don't think that there's anything to stop.
Pappas's lawyers disagree.
There's things that we're undertaking right now in that process. And so we're just asking for a status quo, a stop, a pause, so we can look at this process.
Mayor Sylvester Turner said the decision came down to revenue. Arias was estimated to bring in 22.2% to the city versus 15.5% under Pappas.
We have a very sophisticated procurement group. They took a lot of time on this. The airport has done this several times. We think everything was done properly.
But in the lawsuit, Pappas lawyers accuse the city of violating procurement laws by, quote, seeking fresh blood at the expense of following the stated evaluation criteria.
The process was not fair and transparent. And here we are, the fourth largest city in America does not have a procurement manual.
Lawyers for Arias declined to comment after Tuesday's hearing. The next hearing is set for April 25th. That's when a judge could decide to put a longer pause on the transition at Hobby Airport while the court takes a deeper look at the procurement process. Efforts are underway to save a 130-year-old home in Galveston. It's a hidden gem in need of a polish.
This is one of only 5 of the original, what they call Broadway beauties left.
Designed in 1892 and built the next year.
We are at the Lee Kempner House in Galveston, Texas.
This 7,800 square foot home on Broadway Avenue is a rarity.
And all the other grand homes have been torn down to make way for fast food restaurants and gas stations, and it's just too important from a historical architectural perspective.
Named after John Charles League, who had it built, and Eliza Kempner, its second owner, the house most recently belonged to Janie Mitchum.
That is a long story that makes me sound like a crazy person, but
she'd driven by the obviously abandoned house for years and always noticed an upstairs window left open.
And I told my husband, you better pray it never goes up for sale because I'm going to buy it and close that window.
And then it did. Mitchum saw the for sale sign in December 2020. She took a tour, made an offer. That was it.
Very clearly. Yes.
What was your takeaway?
I was blown away. It's so big and grand, but it did not have lights. It didn't have any electricity. So we just had phone flashlights. It was all boarded up. So it was very kind of dark and mysterious, but you could tell that the original features were here, and you just don't see that. Things get painted over and walls move.
Originally, that was her plan. Buy it, fix it, flip it.
Couldn't do it. Once I really got in here with lights and started exploring and just saw how original it was, it would be a crime against humanity to gut out that kitchen or gut out that bath.
The bath with the original S-trap, the kitchen with its original sink.
Floors and the doors and the windows, all the trim, all the molding, the fireplaces, the surrounds, it's fabulous.
I can show you video from in here all day long, but until you walk it yourself, you really don't get a sense of how grand this home is.
The ceilings are so tall, the rooms are so expansive. No matter where you stand, you can't take it all in, and you just don't get that feeling when you walk in the door. It's like stepping back in time, just the grandeur of it.
Like anything 130 years old and neglected, it needed work.
The brick was failing, the walls were failing, it was full of termites, the roof was bad. Another couple of years, I'm not sure this house would be salvageable, but I think I got it just in time.
Since 2021, Mitchum and her husband have been fixing the house's structural issues, documenting it all on YouTube. And a year into their push, she decided to create a nonprofit.
So it can have a life beyond me.
Gifting the historic home back to the community.
I just want this to be a space for everyone.
As the restoration continues, you can schedule a guided tour, all the money from which will pour back into the house, or volunteer.
Whatever your skill set is, we will find a place for you. We want this to be a place that's owned by everyone and that they feel like they have a part in saving.
Saving a piece of Galveston history by rehabilitating this Broadway beauty. There are so many hidden gems to explore. If you want more history, maybe you're looking for green spaces, how about small businesses to support? We've got them all at KHOU.com/hidden gems or in any number of the Hidden Gems specials you can watch wherever you're watching this. Thursday night's Houston ISD board meeting stretched for hours as elected trustees faced off with the Texas Education Agency for the first time since the TEA announced its takeover of the district. On Friday, Janelle Bluda explained what came out of the confrontation.
So my first question is that he could have chosen to repurpose one school, but he decided to take over 200.
Like I said a minute ago.
Okay, yes, I got it.
Trustee.
Next.
Some heated questions at last night's HISD board meeting. Coming off 2 hours of closed session, TEA Deputy Commissioner for Governance Steve Leschelow gave a presentation to the board about the upcoming transition from them, the elected board, to the newly appointed Board of Managers. He told them what it will take to reinstate an elected board, which includes not having any multi-year failing campuses. Afterwards, it was their turn. For about an hour, Leschelow fielded questions from board members. They wanted to know why this is happening and if the TEA would be transparent. Board President Danny Hernandez says today they still have questions and they want to hear from TEA Commissioner Mike Morath themselves.
I'm not sure if that will happen, but we definitely would like continued conversations with TEA until the Board of Managers is appointed, because this is a very large transition.
And if you want to be part of the new Board of Managers, the application window is still open until April 20th. We have that information on our website, KHOU.com. In Houston, Janelle Bluda, KHOU 11 News.
As your education station, KHOU 11 has an entire section of our website dedicated to issues affecting students, teachers, parents, and schools. You can check it out at KHOU.com/education. It's the last weekend of Black Restaurant Weeks. Gerald Harris got a taste of the 8th annual event.
We have Nigerian cuisine, we have seafood cuisine, we have Cajun Creole.
The options are many for Black Restaurant Week, a weeks-long campaign highlighting and supporting Black businesses.
We have our infamous crawfish bowl with boiled eggs, corn, potatoes, everything you need.
From inside to outside the Houston Loop, from the 3rd Ward where OMG Seafood in Daiquiri Land lives.
What's your second flavor?
To West Houston in the expanding Flava Wings.
16-piece flavor pack, just went in the grease. Everything gets made fresh to order.
Many are exploring Black-owned restaurants, bakeries, food trucks, and more. And the restaurants are seeing the benefits.
Pushing that foot traffic, making sure that individuals are able to really see a bump in their books. You know, over the years, we've seen about 15 to 20% increased sales for restaurants during the Houston Black Restaurant Week campaign.
And for restaurant owners like Krishna Buford, she says it's the soul that goes into what they do every day that separates restaurants like them.
It's just the public can have an appreciation for what we can stir up from our soul in the kitchen to their palates.
Hope that helped you catch up on this past week and you are ready for the next one. Remember, you can tune into KHOU 11 on air, online via KHOU.com and YouTube, as well as by using our KHOU 11 Plus app on Roku and Fire TV. Have a great week.